God bless everyone. Welcome back to the Late Night Loopcast. We decided that it would be best to give our thoughts right after we watched the debate and the Tucker interview with Trump. Yes, I'm going to be doing some late night editing, but we thought it'd be worth just getting our very raw initial reactions to what we just witnessed here. If you appreciated some of the work, I'd appreciate it if you send us a review. We've gotten quite a few. Apple Podcasts, Spotify especially helped me out. But Josh, me and you saw the same thing. Erica is sleeping. It's a little past the bedtime, but Josh and I decided to stay up, and we want to get to our thoughts. So Josh, initial reactions on the night.
Well, the thing is, I actually had the opportunity to go to this debate, and I was like, should I jump on the plane and go see it? I had a free ticket to go, and I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't go. What a waste of time. The big winner of the night is Donald Trump by not participating in this clown show. I absolutely hate this. I'm so sick of this format. I hate it. And they have things like, first of all, the questions that Fox News is asking. So Fox News is the loser of the night. And Fox News is like, raise your hand if you think Donald Trump, or Vice President Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. And raise your hand if you think we should cut funding to Ukraine. And raise your hand if it's like, and finally DeSantis pushes back. It's like, we're not school children. Stop treating us like this. It's stupid. And then it's like, lightning round. You have 30 seconds to answer. I hate all that. I hate it. And I think I speak for a lot of other Republican voters. Like, this is a terrible way to elect a president. I think it comes from the mainstream media news era where you would watch political coverage through television. Television was your filter. That was the only way you could really elect candidates to national office, from the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the first part of the 21st century. But we got the internet now. We don't have to do this. This is stupid.
Right.
And kudos actually to Donald Trump for saying, I'm not going to play with this. I don't want to do this. He goes right to Tucker, and he does this long interview on Twitter, which is now called X. And actually, you know what? I didn't get anything out of this much out of this debate. Some people are saying, "Oh, what'd you think about Vivek Ramaswamy?" He was you know what? Actually, I learned more about him by watching him on a long full length.
Tucker.
Yeah, no, well, he did Jordan Peterson. So Jordan Peterson interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy and had a long interview, and they even talked about this. Like, we're with the internet now, we can do these long form interviews that are hour long, 2 hours long, whatever, and you don't get and you can have longer and fuller answers. And it's so much better for the audience. People actually, respond like, hey, I like what you're saying. And what happens with the internet, then you get a clip of 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and people share with people, hey, did you see what this guy said to Jordan Peterson? It's a 5-minute clip. It's a little bit more nourishing. What happens with these debates is that, you have 2 minutes to answer the question. And so the candidates have their team of advisors and say, oh yeah, this will be a good zinger. We can get on TV. And they come up with this, and they come out sounding robotic. They've got to get their zinger in, and one comment.
Super robotic.
Yeah, somebody was like, Vivek Ramaswamy said, Chris Christie, you sound like ChatGPT, or the other guy said it the other way.
Or no, is the other way around.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so forgettable. Like, it's so dumb. These canned answers, got to get my 30-second soundbite. And so I just feel like, it's so much better to just skip it. I mean, it's just not worth it.
Especially with a guy like Tucker, who we've kind of talked about on this show, he has a real talent for finding pain points and making it hurt. Because even if you go back to what he did in Iowa, when he basically made Mike Pence self-destruct, he identified, okay, here's a weakness, or maybe this is setting off my BS meter, and I'm going to go deeper into that. And so the Vivek, gosh, we're really going to need to get that down here. Vivek interview on Tucker was the one that I came across. I know that you watched the Jordan Peterson one, but I actually was this, to me, it seems like we need to move forward. This is the rest of society's going this way.
Yeah.
If you can't handle yourself on an hour-long podcast, you should not be in office.
Well, and
you don't have the acumen.
This idea that we're going to
be in office, in my opinion.
We're going to spend 90 minutes or whatever it was to cover a debate with 8 candidates. It's ridiculous. And first of all, these candidates, I mean, I guess Mike Pence was a former vice president, so I guess it's kind of serious, but he felt like he was running for president in 2004, not 2024. And Nikki Haley was screaming and lecturing at people, and it's like,
oh, the girl boss stuff was so annoying. It's like, oh, give me a break.
And so, and Asa Hutchinson, I mean, you're like at 1% in the polls, and you're governor of Walmart. Who cares? You just get over it. You're not going to be the nominee. So, and the guy from North Dakota, I can never remember his name, Doug Bugram or whatever.
Doug, he looks like a hockey coach.
So, you know what would be really interesting? Well, I think it would be kind of great if these, like the next candidate that comes out and says, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go to the Reagan debate, the Fox News debate at the Reagan Library. Forget it. It's not worth my time. And so that's what I think, like someone like Vivek should do, is say, hey, why don't you and he should turn to Ron DeSantis. Why don't the two of us just debate each other for an hour and just do it?
Yeah.
Let's go right on Twitter, and just have a debate and go back and forth, and not like, 30-second food. I mean, this is a food fight. It's hard to discern anything. And the only candidate that in the last 20 years that had any kind of a breakthrough moment was Donald Trump, because he's the king of slinging stuff. He knows how to get his sound bites in. The only other time I could think about a primary debate where it was actually kind of effective was when Newt Gingrich just screamed at John King of CNN back in 2012 and just saying, what a stupid question. This is what people hate you. And the audience went nuts,
Yeah, and well, speaking of stupid questions, it did kind of feel like Fox News oddly had it out for these candidates, like asking a ton of questions about January 6th,
and
a ton of questions about Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's like, why not ask about immigration?
They finally got to immigration at the end.
Like,
I mean, it's like, let's talk about the issues that actually, Republican primary voters care about,
right.
It's like, but it's obvious that they wanted the news headlines. See, Fox News wants the headlines, right? So they're like, they want to get Ron DeSantis to have to say one way or another, did Mike Pence do the right thing or wrong thing, so that, because they know then if Ron DeSantis says, yeah, Mike Pence did the right thing, that was what the Constitution says he should do, then Trump would attack him, and it's a food fight stuff instead of being more of a substantive argument. I thought Ron said, I have no beef with Pence, but we really need to focus on the future, the next election, who's going to be president January 2025. I thought that was a great way to get beyond this. But I think the candidates just got to say, enough of this. We're done with this Fox News stuff. And it's nothing against them per se. Like, look, I think it would be more meaningful if Fox News said, we're not going to do a debate. We're going to have the candidates on for an hour and just have, let's say, just pick your host. You can be on with Hannity or you can be on with Laura Ingraham, and then you bring on all these candidates. I mean, I'd much rather listen to them for an hour long
But they have done that, Josh. Like they do. Brett Baer did that with Trump. They've done it with DeSantis. It still doesn't feel the same to me. Like there's a really different feeling to Tucker's interviews on Twitter. It just feels different. I don't.
Well, Tucker, when he brought on candidates like DeSantis and others, I liked watching Tucker because he was great at asking questions. I don't think Sean Hannity's
people
good.
Actually want.
I don't think Sean Hannity's good.
Right, and neither is Brett Baer. So, like, I think there actually is something inherent to Fox. They are getting handed questions I don't think resonate with me, at least me. Okay, Josh, if I want to speak for people my age, let's look at the numbers here. The Rumble stream for the debate was at about 250,000 people to 300,000 people. And the interview with Trump that was put on at the same time, I think, is at 82 million right now.
It's cruising.
I mean, we're talking about not even the same ballpark.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality for people my age. They're not going to Fox News to go get this. They're going to see it on Twitter. They're going to see it clipped up elsewhere.
Okay, so here's the thing.
You said, good clips.
Actually, though, that's what I guess I'd like to say. Like, Fox News is still playing the conventional television presidential campaign stuff, and the candidates are still playing along with that. So why is Ron DeSantis going to Iowa and flipping pancakes and going to the Iowa State Fair? I mean, not that you shouldn't. I mean, go ahead, go. But why isn't he engaging in online Twitter fights with the media? Why isn't he, he's practically silent? I mean, like, they've got an official campaign social media that's kind of boring.
What's interesting about that is Christina Pashaw, who was a major reason for his success in Florida, and then I think Jeremy Redfin, they're both a part of the communications. Seems like they kind of got a muzzle put on them not long ago, and they've kind of been let off the leash a little bit again after they did their little reorganization. But she was a major reason why DeSantis gained a ton of legitimacy on social media platforms like Twitter. Like, she is a bulldog. She doesn't hold back.
I just feel like DeSantis has been a very risk-averse, kind of timid. He says talking points. Like in the debate, he had a few good cuts where he'd say something really good. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. Go. But I don't feel like the energy's there. I just feel like he's thinking like, what's going wrong? He's probably thinking to himself, why am I not connecting with the audience? I mean, he did get some applause lines, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like they're still kind of flat. Like, I mean, the audience is of course going to cheer that you got rid of, critical race theory in Florida. I mean, good. Yeah. But it's still kind of
like things. They're kind of things he's already said, as opposed to like
it just feels like
there
flat
were no
pop.
swashbuckling.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no swashbuckling. Like, and I think that's why
there's no sense of adventure. Like, hey, here's what I'm going to do on the federal level. Let's go.
So let's organize this then. As we've watched both of these events. Now let's if our frustrations with the format, of course, I think are legitimate. But now we're talking about performance of the candidates, and I mean, I think Brian said this, or the president. He's like, 5 of these people are like people in the traveling circus, right? They've been around since the 2004. They all say the same things. This would be like Nikki Haley, Tim Scott,
Mike Pence,
Chris Christie, Mike
Asa
Pence.
Hutchinson, yeah.
Asa for sure, yeah.
They're running campaigns
I think
20 years old.
Right, so I think the main, and this is an interesting question, I've seen a lot of different theories on this. So Vivek Ramaswamy was very compelling. Whether or not people hated him for being annoying and being a little bit in people's space, Mike Pence seemed to hate him. Every time he spoke up, he tried to take a dig at him. He seems to have really nailed down the conservative evangelical talking points better than I think the conservative evangelical candidates on the stage really
which
can.
Is interesting.
And he also has, which is interesting, but he also has this kind of like free-flowing, swashbuckling kind of attitude that, I mean, reminds me a little bit of Trump, of course. I think
you know what it is? He's got nothing to lose. Like, I mean, he's right. Like that's the thing is like Ron DeSantis is thinking to himself, I got to figure out, I got to, get the playbook. I got to figure this out. But that's an error. He doesn't have anything to lose, right? Because if he continues at this course, he's not going to win. He's not going to come close. Well, I mean, that's the thing.
So
like
really
Ron DeSantis is like, this is my chance to shine. Because there's this theory, like for candidates, like you don't want to squash your opportunity. Okay, so like Chris Christie was also on that stage, right? A former governor of New Jersey. I mean, also running a campaign. Like it feels like it's the year 2012 or something like that. And Chris Christie ultimately decided to run for president in 2016, and he, in the political business, we called it murder-suicide, where he just went after Marco Rubio, torched his campaign, but, Chris Christie wasn't going to be the guy. It was just like he assassinated another guy's campaign. But the thing is, Chris Christie is the ultimate example of that. If he had actually run for president in 2012 instead of 2016, he might have actually won the nomination because, there was a lot of people are fed up with Obama and like, how can we beat this guy? And here's a guy in a blue state, and people, conservatives, Republicans love Chris Christie in 2011 and 2012. And so, but Chris Christie just decided, I'll wait. Well, you know what? You wait and it's too late. And now someone else comes along, and it was Trump in 2016, and that was his time. And so there's that, you get punished for if you're like, well, I'll just wait till it's the perfect time, and then it's never the right time. It's sort of like starting, people who's like, I'll start a family when I want to start a family, and then, you never do, you know, or, like Barack Obama was actually smart about that. Like, cause people are like, you should wait. Hillary's going to be the nominee.
Right.
Wait,
he knew his
wait.
time.
He's like, no, you got to strike when the iron's hot and the moment's right. And so that's Ron DeSantis understands this, and his thinking is, I got to do this, because if I wait now, because Trump's probably going to run, I got to do it this time, because by 2024 there'll be a new flavor of the month. There'll be a new, because people are like, oh yeah, all that stuff you did back in 2022, that's ancient history. No one will care. So DeSantis is smart by saying, I got to run this time. This is my time to shine. I don't want to squander it. But I just feel like he's, again, it's like, well, if I mimic Trump and the way he just, I don't care, and no, you still got to be your own man. You still got to be your own person, and you got to have that kind of, it's not reckless, but it's like, just have the confidence of saying, I got nothing to lose. Let's just go for it, which Vivek Ramaswamy has. And some people think it's just because he's running like almost like he's a plant for Trump, because he never really attacks Trump. So that's a little interesting conspiracy theory online. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do like the fact that Vivek, he just is able to communicate very effectively. He's given some answers. I'm like, we've shared some of his stuff on social media. We share when someone says something great. We're not taking sides here. We just like, this is great. Like, he gave a good answer here. Just like you've seen.
It makes you think.
Yeah, and you've seen our stuff on Ron DeSantis. We shared his stuff. We shared Trump stuff, and if Mike Pence had a great answer on the debate on abortion.
We
did.
did.
Like that. So we'll probably share that. Although I think Mike Pence has got no chance.
Okay, so we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to get as well. So Tucker interviews Trump. First question, why'd you decide not to debate? He basically said, I'm up 50 points. He's going to be in Georgia tomorrow. They made a point to bring that up as well. He's going to be turning himself in. So clearly, smart decision. Do you have any like revisionist history if Trump would have decided to go to the debate, how that would have gone down?
Well, I mean, honestly, so we're recording this right after the debate, and by the time people are listening to this, it'll be, it might be right as he's, landing in Georgia, or it might be after people have already seen the mug shot, because Georgia's going to get a mug shot of the former president.
No one's going to 1 billion T-shirts by a day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to remember this debate? It's just going to be old news. It's like the biggest thing in the news will be Trump being indicted, a former president. Are you kidding me? It's going to be wall-to-wall coverage. So, yeah, no, Trump is absolutely the winner of the debate because he's going to steal the show. He did it with the Tucker interview and obviously turning himself over to Georgia to get the mugshot.
Well, he made some interesting points in the interview too, because they talked about all the indictments against him, clearly what seems to be political persecution. And I think he asked him, how do you remain so cheerful? And I actually have seen and heard this from many people. He seems to be in great spirits, even though he's getting indicted basically every week. And he said the line, what keeps me cheerful is that people see through this, basically. My poll numbers are going up with every indictment. People see this for what it is. It's political persecution. I just thought that was such an interesting, good question from Tucker, of course. But will that care? My question then is, so like Republican voters see that, right? Is there any push over into independent voters? Like, do you think independent voters see it that way, or is it just more?
He might.
The Republican side will get him past the primary, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like if you remember, one of the better things that happened in the 2016 campaign, Trump against Hillary, is that during the debates, Hillary tried to do a little gotcha with Trump and said, hey, you make use of all these tax loopholes and you do that to try to avoid paying taxes. And she thought, like, I got him on this. This is great. And Trump's like, yeah, you're darn right I do. And so do all the people who finance your campaigns. Taxes. Like, who wants to pay?
Right.
And yeah, I use the system. And you know what? We could change the system, but I bet your donors wouldn't like it. And it was just like, whoa. And so if he could say, look, all these indictments, we all know what's going on. They're afraid of me. I'm the guy who got into office and I was for the people. I cut taxes. I made sure that energy was cheap, and you should vote for me again. And so if he can keep that kind of an attitude, like it's, I'm against the elites, I'm for the people. And if he does that, I think he can win again. If he gets back into the sore loser stuff, Americans hate sore losers. They really do. So you can't just be litigating every last aspect of the last election and how it got stolen. Okay, so it got stolen. What are you going to do about it this time? The more you focus on that, the American people are like, I don't want to keep going over and over that, even if it was wrong. So to the extent that you can focus on, like, yeah, they're coming after me, and you know what? They want to put you in jail too. Kind of pivot that. I think independents could even say, yeah, I can see what's going on. Like,
yeah, I mean, he did say that too. Like, he's like, even if I don't get elected, the next person that gets elected, they're going to be going after the same way. Like he made interesting points.
Yeah, lawfare. Use the law against your opponents, right?
But how most of the country sees this for what it is, there's just a few. Most people are good, but there's a few people in D.C. that just basically hate him and are willing to do everything possible. I mean, Tucker was even saying, like, all right, they've tried to throw you in jail for life. Are you scared for your life, essentially? I think he also asked whether or not he thought Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, which I was like, that's not going to be asked on a debate stage at Fox
I mean, it's
News.
great. Yeah.
There's moments like that were
and
like...
Trump was like, not directly saying that his Attorney General Bill Barr was wrong, but he wasn't exactly exonerating him either. It was just kind of like...
Do you remember what he called him? A Bushy?
I mean, look.
It's like no disrespect for the Bush family, but he's a Bushy. Trump still got the gas, man. No question.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Like, honestly, okay, so like you and I care substantially about the issues. We want policy victories.
We do.
That's what we care the most about. But honestly, what did you find more interesting, Tom? Did you find it more interesting to watch the debate with the 8 presidential candidates, or were you more interested in what Tucker said with Trump?
Oh, I mean, it was funny because I had both going at the same time, as I'm sure a lot of people did. And I was like, I'll just watch the Trump one during commercial breaks. And then I just got so bored. I think maybe halfway to 3/4 through the debate that I was like, all right, I'm just going to finish out the Trump one first before I go back to this. Cause it was just so in the weeds.
Yeah.
And so,
Well,
like you said, you can get a lot more out of a one-on-one interview with good questions. It feels more authentic.
Well, and again,
that's what I consume.
Maybe if these debates, if we get to the second or third one and we start getting to 4 candidates instead of 8, and if it's, would it be nice if the moderator was sort of hands off and just basically said, hey, get up there and talk for 5-10 minutes and say your piece instead of a 30-second lightning round or your buzzer's up. Lincoln.
Oh, and they all talk over it too. So it's that doesn't even really mean much. And it's just total chaos. But you know what? That kind of brings to mind too, what's becoming really popular now, stuff like the Whatever podcast, where they just bring on two people to debate. It reminds me of Trent Horn v. Destiny on abortion. And that was I'm not kidding. It was 3.5 hours, 4 hours. And I think I watched the whole thing. I mean, I watched it on 2x speed, but the depth that they could get into, and they ended up being pretty cordial, respectful, but it definitely got heated at times. I was totally engrossed in that. And compare that to how I felt watching this debate. I was just so bored. It would be really interesting to see, would someone fold under pressure if they had to do a 1v1, like you said about DeSantis and Ramaswamy, and they brought up the pro-life issue, and they're legislatively speaking, how would you get this done? Because, what happened today with the pro-life issue was they brought up some people have done the 6-week ban, talk about Roe v. Wade.
15-week national ban, federal thing.
Mike Pence said the 15, but everyone basically tried to dodge it. And even I honestly felt like Ron DeSantis kind of gave a dodge answer on it. He wouldn't commit to anything. And I mean, probably because it's smart too politically, but it would be really hard to dodge that on a podcast is all I'm saying. It's just easy to dodge what you want to dodge and talk with your talking points, but you can't really hide from.
I mean, I would, if you want to dodge it a little bit better, you should have said, as president, I'll sign whatever pro-life legislation comes to my desk. Oh, whoop.
There you go.
And then Fox would say, well, you mean the 6-week ban? Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Why do these, it does feel really hostile. And
well, I just don't like the gotcha questions. It's I mean, what the heck? That's why, I mean, Fox is, it just drives me crazy. It's they're going for the headlines rather than this actual conversation of how you would govern, And you get these okay, now we're going to talk about, energy policy for 2 minutes, which, prices of gas is a ton. And Vivek got in there. We got to build, frack, drill oil, and embrace nuclear.
Climate change is a hoax.
Okay, so did you notice this? Okay, so this drives me a little crazy. Fox News gets a conservative college student, right, to ask a question.
Very bizarre.
And the kid goes on a question about climate change. Really? Climate change?
Yeah. That was bizarre, yeah.
If I was working for that conservative group, I won't say their name, I would have been totally embarrassed. Really? You're going to bring up climate change?
I think it was Young Americans for Freedom, correct?
Yeah, well, the only time that anyone really got really righteously angry, though, was when Nikki Haley said, how dare you not respect Israel and make it more important than your own country, basically is what she's getting at. Give me a break.
Oh, Josh, you're going to go in on your girl there.
She's just, drives me nuts.
Yeah, seriously. That was the only time anyone, and Tim Scott, talk about falling asleep. I know he said he was a Southern boy and he talks slow, but man, I come to this
listen to everything at
2
times speed, so I talk,
and it was still slow.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know what to say about Tim, but so the pro-life issue was addressed, and basically people kind of,
I'll give credit to where credit's due. Mike Pence gave a better answer on that than anyone else. It's because he's been thinking about giving pro-life answers for 30 years, and he is right and good on this. So I give him credit for that. The fact is, there's 60% of the Republican Party would walk on shards of broken glass before they'd ever vote for the guy. So it's a non-starter. I mean, his campaign.
And then the other main thing that came up is, Vivek was obviously a great speaker, but a lot of people took issue with the fact that he hadn't really voted before the previous 2 elections.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
how
what did he believe
some
3
of his
years
positions
ago?
are flip-flop. Yeah. And one thing that is kind of bizarre, I mean, especially from a Catholic perspective, I know his family's Hindu. He says leans into his Hindu heritage. And he went to a Catholic school, though, graduated from Catholic high school. He talks about, but his talking points are almost like too good evangelical, like better than the evangelicals can even say it. So I'm like, I like what you're saying, but why should I believe that you're going to do any of these things? Like, I think a lot of the theories about him being a Trump plant could actually be very legitimate. I don't know. That's
well,
just...
and actually, Catherine Hadrow, used to work for EWTN. She thought that maybe Catholics would get offended by Vivek because he made the comment that some of these candidates are going to fly to the Ukraine to their Pope, Zelensky or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not really offended. I mean, he's not attacking Catholics. He's mocking people who think this leader of the Ukraine is the most important leader in the world. And so I'm giving him a pass on that. There are some Christians who will not vote for a non-Christian candidate. In fact, there's some Christians who just couldn't vote for Mitt Romney because he's Mormon. I don't know if that is going to be that much of a factor because honestly, I don't even see that playing out unless there's that moment, let's say in November or December, where let's say he takes off and he starts climbing and then he's got a legitimate chance. Then everything in the kitchen sink will be thrown out at him, and that'll be litigated. And I'm not sure that the Republican voters, are going to disqualify him for it. It's always one of those things where it's like, obviously, I want people to be holy. I want people to be pious, and I'd like them to be believers in Jesus Christ. It's like, I want that for everyone. Yeah. But you can imagine a scenario where someone professes to be a believer of Jesus, and he does horrible policies. George W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, Joe Biden. They claim the Christian faith, and yet they totally go against it. Now, obviously, it's because I think they're serving other masters. I think Joe Biden, he was just talking about restoring abortion.
I was gonna say, not to go Twilight Zone too early, I believe we have a graphic of Joe Biden. They did the meme where they turn the eyes red. It says, "Get real, Jack. I'm bringing Roe back." Man,
it's tough. We get people.
Where do we even start?
People get mad at us anytime we share anything because they're like so angry by it. I don't even want to see his picture. It's like, dude, we're gonna call these guys out, even if it gives you heartburn. Okay, we gotta stay true and hold these people to account. And Joe Biden. I mean, and by the way, here's the thing. So my little Twilight Zone that thing would be, I think, or whether you call it Twilight Zone or just the pop-off question of the week thing or whatever, this thing that people they pop off about is, oh yeah, it's not going to be Biden. He's not going to run again. They're going to replace him. Why do people think that? I don't understand this. Because he's going to be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. I know that. Okay. But why would Democrats replace Joe Biden? So long as the American people in the polling show he's competitive, they're going to keep him. So far, he's the only guy who's beaten Donald Trump. So why would they get rid of him? Yeah. And the other thing, people, he's just too old. He's stumbling. He's embarrassed and da-da-da. Well, I mean, he did that all in 2020, and they kept him in the basement, and it was fine.
Right, like they were fine electing him when he was 78, and he was still doing all the gaffes. So,
and it's not even he's not even president. I mean, technically, yes, of course he is, but he's not doing anything. They just walk him out, like on a 2-wheeler, and he gives his talk, and then they wheel him back out.
And the Maui stuff's been really hard to watch.
Yeah, no, it has.
That's where you'd hope that.
Right, that maybe it'll make a difference. Maybe it'll make a dent. We'll see. But see, the thing is, the American people are the ones who decide this. And especially nominating, for their party, it's the activists in that party. So do the Democratic voters care enough to replace him? We'll see. I'm not so sure. I think he's the nominee. In other words, I think the Democrats will nominate him again.
Yeah. And how do you see the race now shaping up after these two events for the Republican Party? Do you think we're going to like a really thinner herd really soon, or do you think people are going to hang around for a long time? We're still going to have 8.
Well, if you look at the polls of Republican primary voters, Trump is still massively dominating, and then it's a big gap for second place. Then you got Ron DeSantis, and then right behind him, a close third, is Vivek, and then there's just a little support for Tim Scott here, a few people who are going for, the former Vice President Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, they got 4 or 5%, something like that. But ultimately, I don't see. I mean, things can change, but it really does look like I put it at 95% chance that Trump is the nominee, and I think it's at least a 98% chance that Biden's the nominee. So I think it's a redux, and I actually think that it's a slight edge right now for Biden, and that does me no.
No pleasure saying that.
I'm just giving a political pundit like my prognostication. That's obviously the last thing I want is him to be reelected.
And where's the edge for Biden right now, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's just still that, white suburban women just really detest Donald Trump. And so they came out in force to kick him out. Will they come out again to make sure he doesn't get in there again? We'll see. I mean, Trump had made inroads with Hispanic voters. So far, that didn't translate to flipping, additional states. So the suburban women went for Biden in Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin and gave him the White House. The question is, can Trump win some of them back or get other voters to kind of pull, let's say, bring Georgia back in and maybe flip Arizona with some help of additional Hispanic votes and maybe pick up Nevada or something like that? You got to try to find a way to get a win. This idea that, I've liked Ron DeSantis. I was a big backer. I think he's kind of underperformed, but so I'm not trying to say this. I try to be open with my, transparent, what I'm thinking, who I like, all that kind of stuff. We're neutral officially. I'm just saying this, not neutral as in we don't care, but we think it's up to the voters to decide.
You're someone who's followed politics for a long time.
Yeah, I'm just giving you my 2 cents here. I get one vote just like everybody else. So, and so when it comes to Trump, I thought in the immediate aftermath after the midterms, he, got really thumped because a lot of his special candidates did not do well. And Ron DeSantis had done so well. But then I think Ron DeSantis squandered that moment and that opportunity, waited too long to announce, should have, gone with a gusto. And then DeSantis did, again, sort of a classic, running for president like it's 1996, where you go into New Hampshire and Iowa and not engaging with this internet. That's where everyone is. Come on. Yes, go to the Iowa State Fair, but get out there a little bit more online and communicate with people, give speeches and get on, Jordan Peterson's show, do stuff like that. And, Vivek has done that and his numbers have gone up. So what does that tell you? But this idea that Trump can't win, I've said that in previous Loopcasts. I don't believe that. I certainly think he can win. He almost won in 2020, despite everything thrown at him. So, yeah, I certainly think he can win it again in 2024. But I still give the slight edge, just from a analysis standpoint, to Biden at this moment.
Okay. Any closing remarks on our gut reaction? Let's rip an episode after the debate.
Yeah, I mean, I just, we talked internally, hey, should we take the Loopcast on the road, go to the Reagan Library and watch the second debate and give her, and it's like, dude, I had a chance to jump on the airplane and go watch this debate, and I'm glad I didn't. What a waste of time. I'm going to be home with my family sooner. It's just, what's the point?
Was Brian there?
Yeah, he went. Brian went to the debate. So.
Okay.
And he's texting me like, this is boring. I should have rubbed it in like, dude, I told you, man, take my ticket, man. I don't want to go. It's just, and I'm a junkie. I'm a political junkie. There's a term, political junkie. It's like you find politics so exciting. It's almost like it's a drug. I mean, I obviously, gluttony of any kind is immoral. I'm teasing myself with the term, of course. But even as a junkie, I'm like, this is boring, dude. You guys, you're running. The biggest mistake any general makes is to fight the last war. You got to think new. Like your enemy's thinking differently. You need to be thinking differently. Technology is advanced. Communications is advanced. You need to think about this strategy differently and fight differently. And so far, Ron DeSantis hasn't done that, and certainly none of the other guys. I mean, Chris Christie, at least he's intelligent. I give him that.
That was what we say. Yeah.
He actually gives you a good answer on stuff. And I respect him, but you got no chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, this one will be a little bit shorter. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a raw format. We're trying a few new things out. But what I can promise you, though, we will have a longer interview-style episode. I actually got to sit down with both Josh Mercer, star of the Loopcast, and Brian Birch, who's also been on the Loopcast, going real deep on how Catholic Vote started, what we're looking at internally here, what we're looking at for the future. So you can keep an eye on that. That's going to come out pretty soon. And then we're also kind of talking about, like Josh kind of mentioned, how do we get on the road? How do we get in person with some really interesting guests? That's all I'm going to say for right now, but we definitely have plans to be in person with some very interesting, influential individuals. And I plan on not pulling any punches and asking questions that actual Catholics would want to know. So we're really looking forward to that. I really appreciate all the support. Best ways you can help right now, reviews. So we got over 100 on Spotify, which is awesome. We're now at 325 on Apple Podcasts. I actually watched them pretty closely. I have been reading them. No one has roasted me too hard for that last Twilight Zone, but been very positive. And we really appreciate all support in the community that has kind of been built around this. One thing that I always really take to heart is trying to create the best possible product for you, trying to try new things, trying to be innovative. That'll kind of come up in that Catholic Vote episode. Josh had some good insights on it.
Well, and it's just we're doing this, like we said, post-debate, it's almost midnight, This is not the normal thing that we would do, is record an episode at, approaching midnight. And so if this episode's a little bit different, a little bit shorter, hey, look, we're just trying to be open. We're trying to be honest. We try to give you some feedback and share with you our thoughts. And, you've welcomed us. You've been listening to this show, and we're very thankful that we're given this opportunity and that you guys have liked it and have responded to it. And so if we sound a little bit off, because it's almost midnight, guys.
I'm going to get emotional here talking about all the supporters, like my midnight thoughts. I've been just drinking black tea, trying to keep it. I'm going to stay up a little late editing this one, but if I could just further Josh's sentiment, we just had a meeting where we got together and we talked about goals and where we were at, what we met. And I'm really, I'm continually surprised and really honored that this show has grown so substantially. And not only has it grown, but the people that are getting involved that I'm interacting with and talking to are all the exact kind of people that I would want to, hang out with after Mass.
Yes.
Or I'd want to have interesting conversations with about politics and how we solve problems in our community. And just the fact that has come of all of this, I think, is maybe my favorite part. And the people that I've gotten to interview, and now they're kind of in the circle. And so now we get to collaborate. It's just been such an opportunity of a lifetime. And, I don't want to sound too midnight sappy, but really,
it's an honor. We love it. This is great.
I feel that responsibility.
It's an honor.
Yeah, and we love it. And we love you guys. And so we're going to end this one. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, and Our Lady of Guadalupe, pray for us. And I'm going to go to bed. Talk to you guys next time.
See you guys next week, man.